Hello everyone, so I have all of the embroidery flower quilt panels sewn. Here's the base part, this is the middle bottom. So the trick of assembling this, there really is no trick. However you nest your seams whenever you're joining your blocks, it's going to be the same principle. If you have pressed your panels opposite of one another, they are gonna go together flawlessly. I know that on one of these panels I pressed the wrong way, oops, but I will show you how to make that work as well. So let me pin this a couple times. And obviously the more accurate the more consistent you were with your 1/4 inch, the better. So let's see. I'm gonna put in a couple pins. And not all of mine are lining up perfectly, but that's okay because you're only gonna have your cross hatch seams which may not align. And after you look at all the pixel of this quilt, you're really not gonna see that these are not nested. So I've got them pinned, and I don't know, can you see that? I don't know, let's see. I'm trying to adjust my light. Okay, so they're pretty nested. I'm not gonna pin at every seam. I'm gonna go about every 4 seams or so and pin. Because of the stiffness of this, I do recommend pinning. And I am delighted about how this one has turned out color-wise. It is beautiful. I'm not sure what colorway y'all have chosen for the background. If you could, leave that in the comment section below for those of you sewing along. I'm really curious to know what colors you chose for the background. This was almost like a sherbet. I almost chose sherbet and I decided not to. I'm glad I didn't, although it would have worked. It would have worked, but I'm very pleased with how this turned out. Let's see if I run out of bobbin thread. Basically, this is like any other block. Ouch. You align your raw edges even, and then you nest your seams. And let's see. All of this one is pressed the right way. So at least I did that right. But again, I will show you what to do if you did not press your seams opposite one another. It's really not going to impact anything. It just will not press very flat. And if you look, this panel pressed very flat. I tried the seam tip that I read about, and it did not make a difference. It did not make a flying flip if you add steam. This is just, you are going through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 layers. Plus you double that, so that's 16 layers. So any iron, no matter how good or cheap or bad, is going to struggle to make the seams completely flat. But this one did pretty good. Let's see. And let's see how I did. Almost to the end. Yep, that one missed. And let me make sure my corner is good. Alright. Let's see how I did. Okay. Alright. So seam. I've got a spot on this. I don't know what that is. Lovely. Okay, I'll have to get that spot out. But it looks like all my seams nested on this one. So let's go. Let me get the panel for next to it. This will be the panel on the bottom right. Let me get that. Now this one, I got turned around whenever I was pressing my seams, and so none of these seams probably nest. That's okay. I'm gonna pin the dickens out of this one, and because I didn't really struggle with that one, we should be okay. So if you look, both of these are pressed this way. I'm just gonna go with it. I'm just gonna go ahead and match my raw edges and make a pin at each cross section of the seam, like so. Okay, and let's see, I'm probably going to do every other one. I think that'll be best. And so far they're lining up perfectly. It's just, for whatever reason, I pressed this the wrong way. And now I will say that if I would have videotaped this, I would have had a blooper. So on this panel, I got it all sewn, and I realized that down here in this corner, I had to rip it out because I had my squares offset, and how I did that, I have no idea. But the good news is nothing got out of order. I just ripped out that section and ripped the pieces off, trimmed them to what they needed to be trimmed to, and then re-ironed other pieces in it. It looks like the glue on the interfacing is good for more than one application, so it just set me back time with the seam ripper. It was disappointing, but at the same time it was all fixable, so not a big deal. Okay, and let me finish pinning this and I'll get some. Incidentally, now that I have this row together, it's pretty heavy. Whenever you have a lot of seams in your quilt, that's a lot of weight. You don't realize it until you get the quilt done, how heavy it's going to be. Plus you have the weight of the interfacing for this, which is pretty stiff at the moment. But the amazing thing is, when this washes, it's no different than putting interfacing in a garment. It is not going to affect the rigidness of the quilt. It will until it is washed and it loosens up. So, not a big deal. This is a lot for my little machine, but it's handling it well. It's just very awkward and heavy. Get that out of the way. And for those of you who have a standard sewing machine table, all of this will drape off the back. I have my buffet backing, and it prevents it from falling off. So I have that to fight as well. So one panel seems to be longer than the other. I don't know why that is. But the good news is it's going to be at the bottom, so it's not going to matter. Alright. And that could be that area that I had problems with, and I ran out of bobbin thread right at the end. Look at that. Nope, it was just hiding. Never mind. Okay, let's see how I did on this one. Okay. I have this one sewn. This one also, I did not press it right. Gosh. And you know, there is a spider crawling across here. It's been hanging up for so long. This one actually lined up really well. Really well, actually, for it not wanting to nest. There's a couple spots. But you know, quilts are imperfect. They're made with imperfect hands. I'm okay with this. So let me show you how you join the rows together. Okay, this one, when you make the long seam, it's best that your seams do nest. Part of this does, part of it does not. Do not stab yourself when you're handling this because it's very rigid and the pins are going to get you. You are wrestling this thing, so be careful. I'm going to try and run it through and keep everything on the table. Very tricky. And hopefully I don't run out of bobbin thread. I will say pressing this one the way I did is working out a whole lot better than my very first one of these embroidery flower quilts. I did not press. It really made my squares wonky. Although they all nested, it was still wonky. And so I'm striving to do better than what I did before. Remember, because you have all of this fabric ironed to the interfacing, your interfacing does not stretch, and that's the beauty of fabric. Fabric does have give. This has no give. So if you are not consistent with your seam allowance, this is going to be the part that you struggle with. Whew, the scissors nearly got my bare feet. Goodness gracious. Fighting this. Let me roll this up because it's hitting my backsplash. There. More than halfway. Always make sure your needle is down whenever you're messing with this, because the weight of this will pull you to a different seam allowance. So for those of you who have new machines, that's just the press of a button. This old one, if I'm good, I can time it when I take my foot off, although that doesn't happen as often as I'd like. Okay. Last stretch. All right, and just like that, it is done. Very, very pleased with this one. This looks like a bunch of peonies in a vase. Love it.